Hey guys, it's your boy, Brad here, bringing you another awesome video! Hey guys, it's your boy Brad here. Today we're doing another ranking video. We're going to be ranking every controller we got on this list right here. I know we're not including some, but these are the typical controllers we're going to be ranking here. All the way from the NES. Why the fuck isn't the Sega Genesis on here? Oh, there it is, in around blind. All the way from the NES to the, what do you call it, to the Switch, I suppose. We don't got PS5 or Xbox Series X because I don't got one. So, yeah. Let's get into it, boys. We don't got, and we also don't have the Sega Master System controller because it's just an NES controller. And, yeah, but worse. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, let's get into it. We're going to start off with the Switch there, with the Joy-Cons. And, I gotta say, and to be honest, Joy-Cons fucking suck. It's cool to hold on to them, like, you know, have one in each hand kind of thing and use them wirelessly that way. That I like. But, like, as controllers, they're fucking atrocious. They're, like, not the worst Nintendo controllers ever, but they are pretty shit, man. They're pretty fucking shit. I put them in C tier myself. I'm not a huge fan of them myself. I don't know. They're just great. You can use them as, like, one control, like, you know, pair of them is like two controllers kind of thing, right? But like, and like I said, the separate hands thing. But like, yeah, no, these controllers suck. They're not great. I don't know what the hell happened. Nintendo cheaped out on them. The Joy-Con drift, and they're just so small and cramped. And I have big. I mean, you have big hands like me. It sucks. Even yeah, small hands. I feel like even most people with their hand sizes, I feel like it's too big, too small for. Personally, and the fact there's no D-pad, the L and R buttons are atrocious. Analog sticks, just like I don't know. And there's that thing where you put like the straps on there and you put it the wrong way, it can break. And it's like, you serious? But yeah, I don't know, boys. Anyways, we're going on to the next controller here. We got Xbox 360. This is the OG, the classic Call of Duty or Halo controller, as a lot of us associated it with. This controller is great, classic. I love this thing. Now it's not perfect though. It does have a lot of problems. Like, you know, the back on the wireless ones, the battery pack will crack, and that's a very common thing for them. Most of them, I believe almost every like Xbox 360 controller did that with battery packs. I don't think there's any that didn't do it. As I know there's like a thing with the bumpers where a certain model, the bumpers were fucked, right? And like a newer model, the D-pad was good, but then something else is probably wrong with it. Just for example, right, guys? So like, I don't know. It's like an A-tier controller. Sorry, US. I like it a lot. Even the wired version is really good, but then the freaking cord's shit. Right? Like there's always something wrong with it. It's super comfortable. The buttons are great. Analog sticks are great. Trigger and bumpers are great. Like everything's good on it. It's just it has so many weird issues, like the battery pack or like the bumpers or the cord or the D-pad or whatever. Right? Sometimes the buttons aren't great on certain ones, or the analog sticks wear out after time. I don't know. Like it's a good controller. It's just it's got its issues, right? So it's not a perfect controller. It's close to being S. It's super comfortable and all that, but not quite there, boys. Now. The Duke controller is a bit of a controversial opinion. S tier. I love this thing. I got big hands, so I'm a little bit biased towards it. A lot of people will say the button layout's crap. I can understand. I can't agree though. Analog sticks are amazing. Button layout's great. I love the triggers on this thing. Oh man, one of my favorite controllers. Genuinely, I would buy games on the Xbox just so I could play with this controller. Even if the Xbox version wasn't better than the GameCube version, just play with this controller. Man, I love this controller. It's so good. One of the best of all time. Amazing controller. So comfortable for me, especially. I love the angled buttons too. The way they're angled there. The black and white buttons are a little bit awkward, but you know what? It doesn't make no difference to me. The analog sticks are great. They don't wear out too often. At least I didn't find they did. The D-pad's not too bad at all. It's got a rolling D-pad, so it's a pretty good D-pad. One of the better D-pads for an Xbox controller, surprisingly enough. At least until, you know, like the Xbox One or whatever else. But yeah. I really like it myself. Big fan. Super Nintendo, also S. That's a pretty easy one. This is a really good controller too. Super comfortable. The dog bone design. Mwah. And the buttons are just so like, I don't know, the D-pad and the L and R button is just perfect. For everything you play, it's just perfect. So comfortable. I have one right here actually. Just pick it up again and, oh, perfect. Yeah, for like the games you're playing on Super Nintendo, it's perfect. For like 2D games, best controller ever, right? Great controller. I love it. Nothing more to say. Easy S tier. PS4, the DualShock 4 from the PS4. Man, it's been controversial. I'm going to put it in B tier, though. I like this controller. but I have a lot of problems with it. The micro USB on it is atrocious. I've had so many issues with a stupid micro USB where it won't charge, or the battery life on this thing just sucks. So it just dies right away, and your stupid micro USB doesn't work properly, so you can't charge the goddamn thing. But, I mean, other than that, it's okay. Like, it's nice that they make the grips longer. That I will say I really do like versus the other controllers you'll see as we get on here. I really do like that. But I don't know. There's something about this thing. Like, I don't know what it is. I just don't like it very much. At least compared, I don't know, like as much as other people would say anyways. Like, other people would be like, this is like the best PlayStation controller. I'm like, no. You'll see which one I like best. But I don't know. It's okay. Like, it's not bad. It's not like the Switch Joy-Con. It's not garbage like that. But, like, it's still, I don't know. Kind of just whatever, right? Now the Saturn controller. This is another easy one. S tier. If you're going with the second one, not the first one. The first one's trash. We don't have the first one on here. I don't know why, but who cares? Second Saturn controller. Man, I would put that right there. You get out of the way, you. There, right there. Better than the Super Nintendo controller for 2D games. It's like a Super Nintendo controller, but better. Aside from the button layout, not as good as the Super Nintendo's, but it's still pretty good. The buttons are better. The buttons themselves are better. The D-pad's better, in my opinion. And just the overall feel of it. I love the clickiness of the L and R buttons. It's a great controller. I love this controller. I wish Sega Saturn games weren't so damn expensive. Genesis controller is an easy one. A tier right next to the Xbox controller. It's like the Saturn controller, but a little bit not as good. But it's pretty good, though. You know, for the games you're playing, it's pretty good. It's not as good as the Super Nintendo controller. I think it's a bit more comfortable the way you hold it, but like I just like that you have the L and R buttons of the Super Nintendo controller. D-pad's a little bit better than Super Nintendo, in my opinion, and I don't know. It's not as good as the other ones, right? But still, man, it's still good controller. I don't have really many complaints with it. I'm not a huge fan of the 3-button design, and the buttons can get a little bit mushy over time. I mean, they can on everything, but I feel like this one a little bit worse than others, right? I feel like the membranes, whatever you call it, inside weren't as good as other controllers at the time, but it was still, man, still a good controller. And now the Wii U tablet. This one right here is weird. I like the tablet, but I don't like it. I remember when my friend first got it, he says that it was his favorite controller. I'm like, you're an idiot. And I felt it like, this is pretty nice, but I can't see it being like the best, right? But it's nice. It's really, really nice, to be honest. It's like, it's comfortable. It's got the nice Nintendo design, you know, with the 4 buttons, whatever else. D-pads, whatever. Yeah, it's weird. I feel like it'd be B tier. It's better than the PS4 controller for sure. Way better than that piece of shit. You know, but like, it's not much better than that. Okay, it's not that much better than that piece of shit, but it's like, it's okay. It's not bad. The battery life on it is not great. I mean, I feel like it's better than the PS4 controller, which isn't saying much, but you know, yeah, it's all right, right? Now we got the DualShock 1. It's like B tier before in the DualShock 4. It's okay, you know, but that's just it. It's okay, you know. There's got nothing analog on it. That's what I can remember. It's got nothing analog on it. I could be wrong. I think just DualShock 2 when they started that, right? But yeah, it's okay. You know, it's not bad. It's a controller, I guess. You know, it's all right. Then we got the Switch Pro controller. This I would put right behind the 360 controller. The only reason it's not better than the 360 controller is that's got digital buttons on it. This thing is really nice, this Switch controller, actually, the Pro controller. I really like this thing. Other than the D-pad that the first generation ones had, it's pretty much flawless. And the stupid, I don't like they didn't put analog triggers on it. I don't know why they had to do digital ones for. I don't understand. Because they aren't bad buttons. It's just, I don't know. Like, there's no reason not to put analog on your controller nowadays. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like if it had analog controllers, it'd be in S tier, but it's not. So, and it's not as good. It's better than the 360 controller. I will say that. It is better than the 360 controller. You don't have many issues. The battery life lasts forever. Never dies. But, I don't know. It's pretty good still. I really like it. It's just not as good as, it's not worthy of S tier. It's pretty damn good, though. Then we got the, what was this thing called? The original PlayStation controller. It wasn't called DualShock, was it? Whatever the hell this thing was called. Just a Super Nintendo controller, but not as good. Honestly, it's just B tier right behind the original one. I don't much to say. It's just a Super Nintendo controller that's not as good as a Super Nintendo controller. That's all it is. It's like, it was okay. Just, I don't know. Might as well use this one. This one just felt better anyways, right? I don't know. DualShock 2. I would put DualShock 2 right here behind the PS4 controller. Ahead of it, rather. I like the DualShock 2. I used to like it a lot as a teenager. Now I'm like, it's okay. It's not that good. I mean, it's nice. But, like, it's just the DualShock 1, but with analog buttons. So it's just slightly better than it, right? It's barely any different than that one. And it's not a bad controller. It's really nostalgic and all that. But I don't know. Like I said, I think it's just a little bit better. It's better than the DualShock 4. I really don't like the DualShock 4, to be quite honest. But like, it's not that good. It's just like, it's okay. It's not bad. It's worthy of B tier. It's good controller. It's just like, it's got problems because it's so damn small, and the buttons feel a bit mushy in that, right? And there's no analog triggers on it, and the bumpers feel mushy. Everything just feels a bit mushy on it compared to the later PS controllers, where I feel like, yeah, I don't know, it feels a bit mushy. GameCube controller, I would put an A tier right ahead of the Sega Genesis controller, not ahead of the 360 controller though. GameCube controller is a great controller. It was my favorite as a kid and a teenager. Not my favorite anymore, but I still really, really like it. The button layout, iconic. And the bumper's great, the triggers, whatever they're called. Z button's not too bad. It's easy to replace. It's lovely to replace. It's good for playing Smash. Good for playing Mario Party. It's the best controller for Mario Party actually, because the way the A button is, right? And platformers in general is just great for. And yeah, I really like the GameCube controller. It's so comfortable too, and the analog stick's awesome. And so a lot of people say the C-stick's pointless. I love the C-stick actually, to be honest. I'm a big fan of that. And I like the old Nintendo design where they had the hexagon or whatever it was inside of the analog stick. I thought it was cool. I always liked that. And it was nice, right? It was, I don't know, it felt more precise, I guess, in a way, right? It was pretty cool. It was nice. Nice controller. Really, really nice controller. Genuinely one of my favorites. NES is another easy one. The NES controller. It's better than, I would say it's better than all this crap. Top B tier there. It's nice and simple, but like it just feels, the buttons, man, they feel so good. There's very few controllers that have buttons I feel like that. Like they just feel so good. Even the Super Nintendo, not quite as good. Like the Super Nintendo's buttons are pretty good. They're almost as good, but not quite as good as this one. But the Super Nintendo's controller still is better, obviously. It's just more comfortable and all that. But yeah, that controller is just iconic, right? I love the NES controller. That's a great one. Not as good as the Genesis controller, but like it's pretty damn good still. The only problem it has is that it's this square block, so it kind of hurts over time to hold on to it versus the dog bone design, where you get a dog bone controller is a lot better. Those dog bone controllers are way harder to find for the NES, right? So this it does the job, and I'm not complaining with it. Next, we got the Nintendo 64 controller. This is the easiest one in the list here. D tier. The controller sucks. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they made it. It is really bad. Really, really, really bad. I didn't grow up with it. Well, I mean, I played it a little bit as a kid, but like I didn't like. It wasn't like my console. It was like I go over to kids' houses, friends' houses, and we'd have it there, right? But yeah, the way you hold on to it. I don't know how the hell you're supposed to hold on to it. You hold on to it in the middle, or do you hold on to the edges? But then you have a harder time reaching the thumbsticks. Even I have a harder time. I have big hands. I have a harder time reaching the thumbsticks, right? To the thumbstick rather. And the stupid C buttons is just so stupid, and the A and B buttons. I don't like this controller, not at all. I only like it because it's so shit. But I don't enjoy it as a controller. It's only good because it's so fucking shit that it's fun to use. Where it's like, yeah, it just sucks. I'm not a fan. Can't stand it personally. But that's just me though. I'd say it's D tier, like I said. One of the worst controllers ever made. Worst Nintendo controller by far. Sega Dreamcast controller is a weird one, but it's C tier. Better than the Joy-Cons, which isn't saying much. And actually, I'm going to move this down here and change my mind. What do I have to say about the Dreamcast controller? I like it a lot. It's like an early 360 controller. I love that the analog stick doesn't have the drift issue that almost every other controller has, which is awesome. But like the material they use on it though, it sucks. It's hard to grip it, and the triggers are great on this thing. D-pad is honestly the worst D-pad ever. They say the Xbox 360 has bad D-pad. No way. You gotta try this D-pad. This D-pad is like, what the fuck were they thinking? It's like they took a dump and then put gum in the middle of the dump and then put the plastic on top, and that's how the D-pad feels. It's just horrible. It is the worst D-pad ever. The buttons are really nice. Overall, I love the VMU. The triggers are great, like I said. I don't think they're analog though. I think they're digital. You know that? But yeah, it's a good controller. But the D-pad really brings it down. Is the biggest issue it has is the D-pad, and the fact that the thumbstick has that stupid material on it. Like it's a great analog stick, but like the stupid material they use on it is like, what were they thinking? The material on it sucks. It's hard to grip it with your thumb, right? I don't know. Should have used rubber or something instead of hard plastic, but you know, that's just me. Good controller, just weird things to it. And oh, and the cord going on the bottom is idiotic. I mean, you can just put it up top, hang it up top. So it's like, okay, it's not a big deal. And I mean, because you had the VMU there, kind of makes up for it. The VMU is pretty sick, let's be honest. I like the VMU a lot. Better than all the other C tier controllers, that's for sure. Then the Wii Remote. This is a bit of a controversial one, guys, but I'm putting it at the top of B tier. I like this thing a lot. I'm a big fan of the Wii Remote Nunchuck. Wii Remote on its own is just basically an NES controller, but with the Nunchuck, for like Metroid Prime and stuff like that. So such a great controller. And yeah, like what else do you use it for? Metroid Prime. I used it for Smash as a kid and whatever else, right? I don't know. I really like it. It's really comfortable and really like it just works really well. Surprisingly, especially with the Motion Plus, like it just works great. Analog stick's not bad on the thing on the nunchuck, and like when you play like first person shooters, it's actually like I love playing first person shooters. I prefer this over controller for most first person shooters, surprisingly enough, because like just the way like that you aim is like using a mouse almost. I wouldn't say I prefer it over a mouse, but I prefer it over the mouse setup I have because I don't have a good setup for my mouse. So like it's better because you can like you don't gotta have all this room for your mouse or whatever, right? You can just move it around in your hand because you just have room in your hand. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I like the Wii Remote and Nunchuck a lot. It's a great combo. DualShock 3 is a controversial one. I'm gonna put this right here, right behind the game controller. I really like the DualShock 3, boys. I'm a big fan of this thing. It's my favorite Sony controller. I haven't tried the DualSense, as you can see in the list, the PS5 one. The DualSense is probably pretty good, but the DualShock 3 though, boys, man, my favorite one. The analog sticks on there, they're so precise. I like love the bumpers. The trigger's the only thing I'm not a huge fan of. That the PS4 kind of did better, but even then, I never used them. I'd always use the bumpers over the trigger, so I didn't really care. Buttons are great. They feel awesome. D-pad's awesome, and just yeah, like I said, analog stick is really precise. It can have issues. Certain models of it, I find. I don't know if it's the thing with me or what, but I found like certain controllers that had the analog sticks went, and other ones that didn't, which is weird. But it's a great controller overall. The original Xbox S controller, also on A tier. This thing's awesome. It's just basically a 360 controller without the bumpers. Instead, the black and white buttons are in a. I found it was a worse spot personally. I like them better on the Duke, but yeah, this is a great controller. It's comfortable. The D-pad's all right, better than the 360 controller's D-pad. I would actually say this is better than the 360 controller. I'm not gonna lie, not as good as the Switch Pro controller, but yeah, I'd say it's better than the 360 controller. To be honest, I like the 360 controller a lot. The only thing that the 360 controller has over this one is that it's wireless, and that it doesn't have the stupid cord this thing has. But then the wired version does too, I guess. So it doesn't really, it doesn't make a difference. But yeah, the cord is atrocious, just like the 360 wire controller and the Duke. Every Xbox controller has a cord. Awful. You gotta be so careful with those stupid things, and they break. You just move them a little bit, yank on them a little bit, right? They're crap. But anyways, yeah, great controller, super comfortable. Love the buttons. Not as good as the Duke, but it's pretty damn good still. It's just the right size. It's just a 360 controller that's a little bit different than the 360 controller. I like it better than the 360 controller, like I said. Not as breakable as those stupid things were. And yeah, just great controller. And finally, we got the Xbox One controller. This thing I'm like really weird on. Honestly, it's a B tier for me. Not as good. I like it, but I don't like it as much as I like every other three Xbox controllers. My least favorite one. It's nice. It's nice. Like they advertise as they fixed everything. They fixed the D-pad. They fixed the bumper issue. They didn't fix that actually. They increased the triggers and they fixed the analog stick issue. They didn't. I don't know. Like the D-pad's better. The buttons they're weird because they feel better, but then over time they get worse. I feel like with the buttons on this thing. Versus the 360, the Duke, and the S, I never had that problem with the buttons, right? Like I never felt like they just got worse over time. Where these ones, they just get getting stuck in the trigger. The triggers actually get stuck on mine too. Now I think about it, the trigger it's weird. It's a nice controller, but it's like I don't know. It's not as I don't like it. It's my least favorite Xbox controller, like I said, boys. I don't like the analog sticks at all. Can't stand those. Thankfully, it's really easy to change out though, and yeah, it's a pretty good controller overall. B tier, like I said, boys. But that's the list there. What do you think of it, boys? If you agree with me, leave a like down below or comment. Tell me what you would do for your tier list on Xbox or video game controllers. And I'll see you boys in the next one, all right? Peace out, boys.